Stop scrolling. Pause for a moment, because the words you are about to hear were spoken inside the most secure rooms of Buckingham Palace just hours ago, and they will redraw the map of the British monarchy for the next 50 years. The palace has issued one of the most severe and unambiguous statements of the modern era. Financial misconduct associated with the former Duchess of Sussex has triggered a full institutional review, initiated by the Princess Royal and overseen by senior forensic officers of the Crown. With those words, the United Kingdom awoke this morning to the most consequential royal scandal since the 1990s. And Prince Harry, visibly shaken, has gone silent. Stay with me, because what you are about to learn over the next several minutes is a meticulously constructed, document-by-document, transaction-by-transaction account of how a quiet, routine audit inside a fluorescent-lit office in London turned into a full-scale constitutional reckoning, the kind that brings down brands, the kind that ends marriages, the kind that rewrites royal history. The most extraordinary part of this entire story is that it was set in motion not by a king, not by a tabloid, not by a leaked tape, but by a single disciplined woman whose patience had finally, completely run out. Picture this. The periodic audit at Buckingham Palace has operated with meticulous precision for centuries. Every pound spent by the royal family is recorded, tracked, and scrutinized by professionals who understand that the integrity of the institution rises or falls on the cleanliness of its books. Most years, the annual audit is unremarkable. Numbers tally, receipts match, schedules align. The work is dry, the work is invisible, and the work is, for the most part, boring, until early April of 2026, when something strange emerged in the figures. Margaret Hartley, a senior accountant with nearly 20 years of experience in the Royal Finance Office, discovered it. She knew the rules. She understood how money flowed between the different royal households. She had watched generations of royals come and go, and she had seen patterns no outsider could ever notice. So, when she sat down to review Sussex family spending from before Prince Harry and Meghan Markle stepped back from royal duties, she did what she had done 1,000 times before. She compared the payment dates with the publicly available schedule. She compared the invoices against the actual events, and the more she examined, the more uneasy she became. Then she went deeper. The dates began telling stories. The payments began correlating with private royal moments that should never have appeared anywhere in any external record. Margaret Hartley, in the silence of her office, realized she was looking at something no one had ever caught before. And she did the only thing a senior Crown Auditor of conscience can do: she raised it. She raised it to the only person inside the institution who could be trusted to act with absolute, surgical precision: Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, the most disciplined royal of her generation, the woman whose nickname inside palace corridors has, for decades, simply been the Iron Daughter. From that single moment of escalation, the most explosive royal investigation in modern memory was born. For the past week, the monarchy has been engulfed in revelations stemming from a classified inquiry led jointly by Princess Anne and Margaret Hartley. The probe uncovered a series of deliberate financial concealments tied directly to Meghan Markle's activities during and immediately after her tenure as a working royal. What began as a routine year-end audit has now exposed a sophisticated web of offshore structures, concealed income streams, and unauthorized disclosures of internal royal information to external media and entertainment entities. Read that sentence twice. Unauthorized disclosures of internal royal information to external media. That is no longer a financial story, it is a security story. But today's shock is not merely institutional, it is profoundly, devastatingly personal. According to palace insiders, Prince Harry has retreated entirely from public view after learning that nearly every legal responsibility, every potential liability, and every avenue of financial exposure surrounding the scandal falls squarely on him, not on Meghan Markle. The reason is brutally, almost cinematically simple. Meghan Markle's corporate interests, her investments, and even her California-based production equity have been legally held in the names of their two children, Archie Mountbatten-Windsor and Lilibet Diana Mountbatten-Windsor, since 2019. Meanwhile, Prince Harry signed several early operational documents back when they were still working royals. If the matter ever escalates into litigation or asset disputes, He is the one left with no protective structure, no financial immunity, no buffer, and quite possibly no assets at all. Sources close to the palace confirm that Prince Harry, despite his initial public declaration last week that he would stand unwaveringly with Meghan Markle, has since grown hesitant, withdrawn, and increasingly unsure. Advisors in California say he has been distressed and blindsided by how expertly Meghan Markle structured her legal protections while leaving him exposed to British parliamentary scrutiny and crown jurisdiction. One insider described his state in a single devastating sentence: "He has realized he may walk away from this with nothing, and for the first time, he is asking questions he should have asked years ago." Pause on that. Imagine being him. Imagine spending 6 years burning bridges with your family, defending your wife in interviews, in books, and in lawsuits. Imagine spending every moment in the public arena available to a man of his position, and then sitting down with your own legal counsel and being told, calmly, professionally, in clinical, lawyerly language, that you are the one holding the bag. That the structure protecting your family was built specifically to protect everyone except you. The shock of that realization, the cognitive whiplash of it, would be enough to break almost any man. Meanwhile, all eyes are on Princess Anne, whose uncompromising approach has defined this investigation from the very first day. Known across the Commonwealth for her discipline and her absolute intolerance for institutional exploitation, she has spoken publicly for the first time since the audit began. Standing outside Marlborough House late last night, she delivered a measured but unmistakably forceful statement. "The Crown," she said, "cannot and will not allow its integrity to be compromised by those who view service as an opportunity for personal gain." The investigation continues with full authority and without interference. Read those words again. "The Crown cannot and will not allow its integrity to be compromised by those who view service as an opportunity for personal gain." Every word of that sentence is a scalpel, and every word was aimed at one specific person. Princess Anne's remarks were widely interpreted as a direct message not only to Meghan Markle, but also to Prince Harry, whose previous refusals to engage with palace inquiries had angered senior officials behind closed doors. It was Princess Anne who insisted that the internal review include retroactive cross-referencing of Sussex-related expenditures, digital correspondence, and vendor contracts dating back to mid-2018. It was also she who ordered the immediate lockdown of the Royal Finance Office after discrepancies first surfaced in November. According to multiple palace departments, her involvement has been transformative. Staff who have worked under 4 separate reigns describe this as the most rigorous internal examination they have ever witnessed. By placing the Crown, not personalities, at the center of her message, Princess Anne has won both domestic and Commonwealth support. The palace's decisive tone has drawn comparisons to earlier controversies involving Camilla, whose past reputation once threatened the monarchy's public standing. But senior advisors have been quick to emphasize the difference. Camilla's controversies were public relations crises, not structural threats. Meghan Markle's situation, by contrast, has raised the specter of financial exploitation, unauthorized information sales, and institutional manipulation, issues that strike at the very legitimacy of constitutional monarchy itself. Camilla never threatened the bones of the institution. Meghan Markle is alleged to have attacked those foundations directly. King Charles III has maintained a solemn, steady posture throughout. Late yesterday, through the Lord Chamberlain's office, His Majesty stated that the integrity of the Crown's financial conduct is fundamental. No individual, past or present, is exempt from the standards that safeguard public trust. The statement, brief but seismic, signals a united front between King Charles III, Princess Anne, and Prince William. Prince William, while maintaining his characteristic personal restraint, is said to be deeply, almost viscerally, angered by the discovery that internal family conversations and ceremonial events were monetized through undisclosed channels. For a future king whose central mission has been modernizing the monarchy with transparency, the betrayal cuts sharply, perhaps more sharply than any other revelation of his lifetime. And so, the world watches. Meghan Markle has remained silent for the past 24 hours. Prince Harry remains in California, suspended in a state of uncertainty, publicly loyal to his wife. Privately, Prince Harry is said to be confronting the legal and financial consequences of a system that Meghan Markle allegedly built without his knowledge. The Crown has spoken. The investigation continues, and Princess Anne is only getting started. But this is only the surface. The deliberate, calculated structure that Princess Anne and Margaret Hartley have spent weeks disentangling is far more elaborate than the public has yet been told. What began as a handful of mismatched expenses has grown into a documented pattern of concealment, stretching from late 2018 through the Sussexes' departure in early 2020. According to internal financial memoranda reviewed by senior palace officials, Meghan Markle's offshore architecture did not emerge spontaneously. It did not evolve out of bureaucratic confusion. It unfolded in precise, deliberate stages. First came the quiet establishment of a consultancy pipeline in late 2018. Then the incorporation of proxy companies in the Virgin Islands, followed by a Delaware-registered shell corporation with no employees, no physical office, and no visible operating purpose. By the time a Channel Islands account was opened in March 2019, the structure was already capable of receiving significant payments without raising suspicion in any single jurisdiction. Palace officials are quick to clarify, the problem was never the offshore account itself. Offshore banking in and of itself is legal. The problem was timing. The problem was volume. The problem was correlation. Margaret Hartley's timeline, presented to senior advisors last week, showed that payments into the account repeatedly coincided with private family milestones, a confidential strategy meeting at Sandringham, a high-level state dinner at Buckingham Palace, even the private christening arrangements for Archie Mountbatten Windsor. With each event came a payment, £10,000, £25,000. Sometimes more, originating from entertainment companies or media groups later associated with exclusive coverage of those very same events. The conclusion, when laid out on a single timeline, was unavoidable. Information was leaking and someone was being paid for it. Princess Anne's reaction to the timeline was described by staff as controlled fury. For decades, she has been the monarchy's backbone, its most relentless defender against the slow erosion of standards. To see the Crown's most private moments aligned, beat for beat, with corresponding bank transfers was, in her own words, an affront not only to the institution but to the late Queen herself. Prince William, upon reviewing the same documents, reportedly remained silent for nearly a full minute before closing the folder and stating simply, "This ends here." Those present interpreted his words not as anger, but as a declaration, firm, final, and unshakable. For King Charles III, the implications cut even deeper. The monarch's advisors had previously weathered scandals centered on perception, public image, narrative missteps, and leaks of gossip. But this was different. This was structural sabotage conducted from inside the family. At a time when King Charles III was attempting to modernize the monarchy under the principles of transparency and service, those very principles were allegedly weaponized against the institution. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle's circle has struggled privately. Several United States-based associates have admitted, off the record, that they were unaware of the offshore arrangements. One advisor confessed that the financial maze surrounding her companies was simply too complex for any outsider to fully understand. In royal circles, that complexity is now viewed not as confusion, but as intention. A maze, after all, is built precisely so that nobody else can walk through it. And then there is Prince Harry, adrift. He has not issued a new statement. He has made no appearances. Those close to him say he is processing the unimaginable, that the woman he defended against his own family for years may have constructed an entire financial apparatus behind his back, while leaving his name attached to all the key operational liabilities. The architecture of the betrayal, if proven, is staggering in its precision. For now, the palace moves forward, united and methodical. Princess Anne and Margaret Hartley continue coordinating with Crown legal officers, constructing what one senior aide described as the most comprehensive internal audit since the Windsor reforms of the 1990s. The scandal is no longer about speculation. It is about documentation. And as the investigation advances, one truth becomes blindingly clear: every new document strengthens the Crown and weakens Meghan Markle. By the third week of the investigation, it had become unmistakably clear that Princess Anne was no longer merely overseeing the inquiry. She was commanding it. What had begun as a procedural review of Sussex-related finances had evolved into a full-scale institutional examination shaped entirely by Princess Anne's discipline, her precision, and her absolute refusal to tolerate ambiguity in any form. Behind closed doors at St. James's Palace, Princess Anne convened what insiders are now calling the pivotal session, a private meeting with senior legal counsel, the Lord Chamberlain, Margaret Hartley, and two external forensic consultants brought in under strict, ironclad confidentiality. For nearly 4 hours, the Princess Royal pressed for clarity on every discrepancy, every unexplained transaction, and every breach of protocol identified in the rapidly growing dossier. Observers inside the room described her demeanor as stern, unyielding, and entirely focused on structural integrity rather than personal drama. One advisor later remarked, "This was Princess Anne at her purest form, zero tolerance for manipulation, no patience for excuses, and absolute loyalty to the crown." It was during this session that Margaret Hartley unveiled the most troubling discovery yet, a series of internal communications from 2019 indicating that Meghan Markle had declined to use the designated royal financial oversight channels for certain engagements, opting instead to route contracts through her privately connected consultancy firms. At the time, these choices had been attributed to administrative misunderstandings, naive errors by an American newcomer not yet fluent in royal protocol. Now, in the harsh, fluorescent light of a full audit, they appeared to reflect a deliberate, repeated pattern of circumvention. Princess Anne's response was immediate. She authorized a comprehensive cross-referencing of all Sussex-related engagements between May 2018 and March 2020, requiring departments across Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace, and Clarence House to submit archived records within 72 hours. Multiple staff members, some no longer working for the royal household, were recalled to provide sworn statements. The scale of the inquiry was unprecedented in the modern monarchy. But what made it extraordinary was not its size. It was the speed and the unanimity with which senior royals aligned themselves behind Princess Anne. Prince William, emerging from a late-night briefing, expressed what aides described as quiet but unmistakable resolve. He reportedly told his private secretary, "We must protect the institution my grandmother devoted her life to. No one is exempt." Catherine, Princess of Wales, though maintaining her typical distance from direct confrontation, instructed her communications team to prepare for extended public engagement responsibilities, signaling that she and Prince William were ready to stabilize public perception once the investigation reached its formal conclusion. King Charles III, for his part, adopted a grave, almost constitutional posture. Sources confirmed that he personally reviewed documents detailing how Meghan Markle's alleged information leaks coincided with sensitive family milestones, material that, if exposed, could have compromised private negotiations and state-facing preparations. To King Charles III, the scandal represents not only financial impropriety, but a direct violation of the sanctity of royal trust. One palace historian privately compared the moment to the period following earlier controversies involving Camilla, though this time the implications appear far deeper. Those controversies were reputational. This situation, if substantiated, extends into legal and financial domains that challenge constitutional dignity itself. As the inquiry widened, Meghan Markle remained notably silent. California-based spokespeople issued short, carefully worded remarks emphasizing her commitment to transparency, while avoiding any direct acknowledgement of the offshore structures. Meanwhile, legal concerns around Prince Harry intensified. Internal assessments warned that if civil or parliamentary investigations proceed, he, not Meghan Markle, would bear the initial burden of inquiry, as several key documents from 2019 carry his signature as the acting senior royal representative at the time of authorization. This revelation hardened the royal stance, and in a rare moment of private candor, recounted by an aide, Princess Anne said, something that has since echoed through the corridors of every royal residence in Britain. "For years," she said, "we assumed naivety, but naivety does not construct networks of shell companies." The remark from Princess Anne captured a growing consensus inside the palace. This was not accidental misconduct, it was strategy. Calculated, layered, and meticulously insulated from legal liability. By the end of that week, the working group presented a 64-page interim report. It contained timeline charts, payment clusters, contract deviations, and newly recovered emails whose phrasing left almost no room for charitable interpretation. Princess Anne reviewed the final page, closed the folder deliberately, and delivered the line that has since become emblematic of the investigation's tone. The crown will not be compromised. Proceed. With that single word, proceed, she signaled not merely continuation, but escalation. The inquiry would now enter its next phase, royal accountability and public declaration. As the machinery of the monarchy prepared to move forward, Meghan Markle stood increasingly isolated, not only from the institution she once joined, but also from Prince Harry, who now found himself entangled in a legal labyrinth he never saw coming. By early December, the investigation had moved beyond preliminary audits and into a phase the palace privately refers to as a royal reckoning, a decisive moment in which the institution must assess not merely the facts of misconduct, but the lasting implications for legitimacy, succession, and public trust. At the center of this storm stood Princess Anne, whose leadership transformed the inquiry from a procedural review into the most comprehensive internal investigation since the financial reforms instituted after the Queen Mother's archives were unsealed. Princess Anne's determination was not theatrical, it was structural. Her message, repeated across meetings, briefings, and official circulars, was uncompromising. The crown is not a stage for personal ambition, it is a trust. You either serve it or you exploit it, and if you exploit it, you answer for it. This philosophy guided every step of the escalating probe. Margaret Hartley's team, strengthened by additional forensic consultants, reconstructed a 5-year digital footprint of transactions tied to Meghan Markle's offshore network. Documents revealed coordinated payments from entertainment companies, public relations intermediaries, and foreign media outlets. Several payments were linked to consultations, content briefs, and logistical insights, terms palace auditors had never previously encountered in relation to royal engagements. One particularly concerning trail involved a Los Angeles-based media firm whose payment history aligned precisely with internal royal scheduling sessions. In one case, a briefing conducted at Clarence House regarding planned Commonwealth tours appeared mirrored, just days later, in a tabloid report featuring uncanny specificity. Margaret Hartley's analysis concluded that the timing indicated a premeditated release of sensitive operational information rather than coincidental reporting. The gravity of this discovery reverberated through Buckingham Palace. It was no longer about personal misconduct. It was about compromised royal confidentiality, a breach that could endanger diplomatic relations, security protocols, and even state negotiations. The investigation unit was divided into 4 specialized teams: financial structures and beneficiary mapping, communications, and the investigation unit was divided into 4 specialized teams: leak correlation, legal exposure and parliamentary risk, and royal conduct and protocol review. Princess Anne chaired daily briefings, often lasting well into the evening. Staff who had served under Queen Elizabeth II described her discipline as the closest living match to Her Majesty's uncompromising standards. Prince William attended these sessions with unwavering focus. Those present recall that he never raised his voice, never speculated, and never personalized the issue. Instead, he evaluated each new revelation through the lens of a future monarch: how the institution must respond, how transparency must be upheld, and how trust must be rebuilt for the generations who would inherit what was being preserved. "This is not about personalities," he said in one such meeting. "This is about protecting the monarchy's ability to serve." Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Prince Harry's situation deteriorated. Legal advisors in California began warning him that the structures surrounding Meghan Markle's companies, particularly the decision to place equity under the names of Archie Mountbatten-Windsor and Lilibet Diana Mountbatten-Windsor, left him with no legal control and no claim to shared marital assets. The palace's internal legal review reached the same conclusion: Prince Harry held liability without authority, a rare and precarious position. He was, as one senior aide put it, a shield without armor. Sources close to him describe him pacing rooms, rereading documents, and questioning timelines. His initial defiance, his declaration that the palace was persecuting his wife, appeared to crack as he realized the legal consequences pointed to him, not Meghan Markle. The silence around him grew louder. Public expectation intensified, speculation swelled, and Prince Harry, once the rebellious prince, now seemed suspended in a state of fear and disbelief. Inside the palace, quiet conversations began drawing comparisons between Meghan Markle's. The unfolding scandal has drawn comparisons to controversies once surrounding Camilla in the 1990s and early 2000s. Yet anyone who examines the two situations side by side quickly realizes that the contrast is not merely sharp, it is overwhelming. Camilla's troubles were rooted in public perception. Her controversy was emotional, personal, and deeply tied to the dynamics of the marriage of Charles III and Diana, Princess of Wales. It shook public opinion, damaged the monarchy's image, and required years of careful public relations rehabilitation. But even at its most turbulent, Camilla's situation never threatened the internal structure of the institution. It was a reputational crisis, painful yes, but ultimately containable. By contrast, Meghan Markle's case extends far beyond image. Palace officials now describe her alleged actions as a form of institutional betrayal, a deliberate manipulation of financial systems, a calculated effort to obscure money flows, and a pattern of behavior intersecting with legal, constitutional, and security concerns. Where Camilla's controversy was emotional, Meghan Markle's is described as systemic. Where one required narrative repair, the other demands forensic investigation. The difference in perceived threat reflects this divide. Camilla never placed the monarchy in legal jeopardy. Her controversy was categorized internally as a medium-level reputational challenge. Meghan Markle's situation, however, is now framed as a high-risk scenario, one involving a complex web of offshore transfers, confidential information leaks, and structural manipulation touching on parliamentary oversight and crown accountability. As a result, the royal responses diverge dramatically. Camilla's integration into the monarchy followed a long, carefully managed path of public acceptance and institutional support. Meghan Markle, by contrast, faces a crown that has now executed a full-scale investigation, initiated disciplinary measures, and is reviewing the possible stripping of titles, actions reserved only for situations in which the institution itself is perceived to be at risk. Put simply, Camilla's controversy challenged the monarchy's heart, Meghan Markle's challenges its foundations. That difference, palace advisors say, explains why the crown's response today is so uncompromising. The message is unmistakable. Meghan Markle's alleged actions have been viewed as jeopardizing the monarchy in ways no modern royal controversy has. On December 10, King Charles III convened a private council with Princess and Prince William, the Lord Chamberlain, and the Master of the Privy Purse. His tone was somber but resolute. The evidence, he said, left no room for alternative interpretation. He emphasized that the monarchy survives only when it adheres to standards higher than those imposed by law. His statement was both constitutional and moral, a reaffirmation of the crown's guiding principles. It was also a clear signal to the world that King Charles III stood unwaveringly behind Princess Anne's leadership. After the meeting, King Charles III approved the preparation of a formal institutional report summarizing the investigation's findings. Though not yet public, insiders describe the document as devastating in its clarity and irrefutable in its detail. Later that evening, Princess Anne authorized a direct message to senior Commonwealth representatives, reaffirming the Crown's commitment to transparency and ethical governance. The final sentence, written in her own hand, read, "Misconduct will never find sanctuary within the House of Windsor." The statement circulated privately but quickly reached diplomatic circles. It resonated globally, establishing Princess Anne as a moral anchor of the monarchy in one of its most turbulent moments. As the details of the investigation began to surface through reputable British outlets, public sentiment shifted firmly against Meghan Markle. Polls conducted in early April showed that 72% of British citizens supported the removal of her remaining royal associations, while 61% viewed the offshore accounts as intentional wrongdoing. Additionally, 54% believed Prince Harry should face consequences if he was knowingly complicit. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle's typically vocal public relations allies fell silent, as Hollywood sources reported unease regarding her diminishing credibility. Princess and inquiry had not only exposed financial misconduct but also restored a rare sense of unity within the monarchy. Meghan Markle, once positioned as a modernizing force, now stood isolated and discredited, overshadowed by the institution she had attempted to outmaneuver. By mid-afternoon on December 11th, the atmosphere inside Buckingham Palace had changed. What had begun as a meticulous audit transformed into a moment of institutional determination, where the monarchy no longer felt threatened by the scandal but instead fully prepared to confront it. Senior aides began referring to this phase simply as the turning point. Princess Anne, standing at the center of the storm, made the shift unmistakable following a closed-door session with Crown Legal Counsel, issuing instructions for a consolidated dossier to be prepared, one that could be presented to Parliament if necessary. It was a signal the palace rarely deploys, indicating that the Crown was ready to involve governmental oversight. Should Meghan Markle attempt to challenge or obscure the findings, Princess Anne's tone remained resolute. If we must answer publicly, we will answer with facts. If we must defend the Crown, we will defend it with evidence. Her words, according to one source, left no room for ambiguity. Meanwhile, Prince William began stepping into a more visible leadership role. Though still maintaining outward calm, he held multiple internal briefings with communication staff, preparing for the public fallout that would inevitably follow once the investigation's conclusions were finalized. Aides described him as controlled, analytical, and deeply protective of the monarchy's long-term credibility. Prince William made it clear that this scandal would define how future generations view the early years of King Charles III's reign, as well as his own transition to kingship. If we allow misconduct to go unchallenged, he told a senior advisor, we rewrite what it means to serve. King Charles III, though physically removed from some of the most intense investigative work, shaped the moral trajectory of the response. Late on December 11th, the king delivered a private statement to his senior council, affirming the central principle guiding the crown. The monarchy endures when it holds itself to standards higher than those imposed upon it. This line, echoing sentiments he had expressed earlier in the month, strengthened the palace's internal unity and ensured that every department, from finance to communications to constitutional affairs, was aligned across the Atlantic. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle's position had deteriorated dramatically. The silence from her team was no longer interpreted as strategic. Instead, it was seen as defensive paralysis. Leaks from California suggested growing unrest among her advisors, some of whom feared that responding too aggressively could trigger a demand from the Crown for disclosure of private documents. Others urged a counterattack to reframe the narrative, but even they admitted that the evidence emerging from London was far stronger than anticipated. Prince Harry, caught in the middle, found himself increasingly sidelined. His earlier impulsive defense of Meghan Markle now appeared out of sync with the severity of the situation. According to sources close to him, Prince Harry had begun asking legal questions he once insisted were unnecessary, questions about liability, asset protection, marital exposure, and whether he could be compelled to testify should parliamentary action be initiated. Inside British media circles, analysts noted a significant shift. The scandal was no longer centered on Meghan Markle's behavior, but on the institution's unwavering response. It was the Crown, not the controversy, that now dominated headlines. By the end of the day, one message was clear: the monarchy had regained the initiative. Meghan Markle's defense was weakening by the hour, and Princess Anne, backed by King Charles III and Prince William, had moved from investigation to enforcement, setting the stage for a final confrontation. By the morning of December 12th, as dawn settled over Buckingham Palace, it became clear that the investigation had reached its endpoint, not because the facts were exhausted, but because the Crown had gathered everything it needed to act. Princess Anne, the unrelenting architect of the inquiry, convened what palace sources described as the final consolidation meeting, brief, decisive, and historic. Margaret Hartley presented the concluding audit summary, a coherent, meticulously mapped account of offshore transfers, concealed earnings, and information for payment exchanges, along with the deliberate circumvention of royal financial protocols. The document left no ambiguity. The patterns were intentional, the structures were designed to conceal and deflect, and the beneficiary was unquestionably tied to Meghan Markle. Princess Anne's reaction was characteristically blunt. "We protect our own by protecting the institution first. And the Crown has now spoken." Her words set the tone for the hours that followed. Shortly before noon, King Charles III approved a set of internal directives designed to finalize the response to Meghan Markle misconduct. Though not all measures will be publicly disclosed, palace officials confirmed several key points. Meghan Markle will no longer be entitled to any privileges associated with former working royals. Her financial dealings related to her time in the royal household will be subject to ongoing Crown oversight, and legal avenues remain open should the Crown determine that any breaches rise to the level of parliamentary concern. King Charles III's written statement to his Privy Council emphasized accountability, dignity, and continuity. "We act not from anger, but from duty." The stability of the monarchy depends on transparency and truth, qualities which cannot be compromised. The emotional center of the crisis remains Prince Harry, whose position has grown more precarious by the hour. Having learned that much of the legal exposure may fall upon him rather than Meghan Markle, he has reportedly begun cooperating with external advisors. Though still out of public view, his silence is no longer defiance, it is calculation. Privately, aides say Prince Harry now fears three outcomes: financial devastation if asset disputes escalate, institutional severance if he continues to defend Meghan Markle, and public humiliation should documents indirectly implicating him be released. One advisor described him as a man staring at the wreckage of choices he believed were made in love. His transformation, from certainty to hesitation, has captivated the public, and social sentiment has shifted from anger to reluctant sympathy. Prince Harry now appears less like an accomplice and more like collateral damage in Meghan Markle's complex financial structure. In California, Meghan Markle's inner circle has thinned dramatically. Media allies who once defended her unconditionally have fallen silent, and entertainment partners have paused collaborations, citing growing concerns. Reputational risk looms as her public relations team remains fractured, unable to craft a narrative powerful enough to counter the weight of official Crown documentation. A senior royal historian summarized it best: "When Camilla faced scandal, the monarchy bent but did not break. Meghan Markle's scandal did not bend the monarchy, it strengthened it." Late in the afternoon, Princess Anne issued the final statement of the investigation, short, austere, and unmistakable, declaring that no individual stands above the integrity of the Crown and reaffirming a commitment to service that has endured for 1,000 years. Her words were not aimed at Meghan Markle, but at the world. As the palace settles into a rare evening calm, one truth stands firm: the House of Windsor emerges stronger, more united, and more disciplined than it has been in decades. Meghan Markle stands isolated, her defenses eroded, while Prince Harry remains suspended between loyalty and survival, his next move looming over global headlines. Meanwhile, Princess Anne, quiet, relentless, and immovable, has redefined what royal accountability looks like in the modern age. The scandal has ended, but the consequences have only just begun. What unfolds in the coming weeks will determine the shape of the British monarchy for the next half-century. Questions remain. Will Prince Harry stand by his wife as pressure mounts? Will Meghan Markle break her silence? Will Parliament demand the full dossier? And will the already weakened Sussex titles finally fall? These questions will define every royal headline between now and the end of the year, and the answers will ultimately be shaped by Princess Anne, who followed a single thread, refused to look away, and in doing so became the most consequential royal of her generation. A woman who never sought the spotlight or gave tell-all interviews has, in the span of a single autumn, reshaped the institution more dramatically than any monarch in living memory. This story is only the beginning. The Crown is moving, the investigation has concluded, and the consequences are approaching. At the center of it all stands Princess Anne, the Iron Daughter who turned discipline into doctrine and is not yet finished, as the fall of an empire of excuses continues with nowhere left for the Duchess to hide.